Hello, Tamily. It's time for interview 187 with Crystal. Her Instagram name is KM Filler. So start following her if you aren't already, and we will be connected in just 1 second. Hi, Crystal. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much
Good.
for joining us to be interview 187.
Yay!
So exciting. So of
Over a
course,
little bit.
Crystal, we have some questions planned for you, but we'll also take questions from the chat throughout the interview. So of course, we already have a few people watching. They can type in questions at any time and we'll pepper those in. But why don't we go ahead and get started by learning a little bit more about you. If you can tell us where you're from, anything else you might like to have us know about you, and then we'll jump into all the Tracy related goodness.
Perfect. Well, I am so excited to do this. I've been watching all of the lovely ladies come before me, and I think this is such a great way for us to all get to know each other and connect on a mutual background that we all love, which is Tracy Anderson Method. So I am originally from Ohio. Heidi.Tamily, I don't know if she's on, she did an episode probably 6 or 7 months ago. I think I was very pregnant when she did her episode. But her and I are from like very sister small towns in Ohio. So we discovered that, or I discovered that about her at a last Ask Tamily when she did her interview. So I am from a small town in Ohio. In 2012, I moved to beautiful Phoenix, Arizona to complete my medical residency in internal medicine. Met my husband in 2013 and have not looked back since then. I haven't had to shovel snow. I haven't had to scrape my car. I can cook an egg on the sidewalk because it does get to about 120 degrees here sometimes. But right now I'm in my backyard. It's April, it's 75. So no complaints here. So that's kind of a little bit of a background on where I live, where I come from. I'm a Midwest girl who just happened to now live on the West Coast. So I'm enjoying that lifestyle, and I don't think we'll ever move away from here. We have our 2 girls, and so we're pretty set staying here in Arizona. So
I love it. Definitely love hearing about the weather, but I also love hearing about you discovering something from an Ask Tamily interview with another Tamily member, because that's, really the whole reason why these interviews exist is, making that connection across the Tamily, and not realizing like, oh, this person lives near where I live, or,
literally probably maybe 10 minutes at the most from where I grew up. Kid you not. It's insane. It was insanity. Yeah.
That is awesome. Can you also tell us, how did you get involved with the Tracy Anderson Method, and how long have you been doing it?
So I am an oldie but a goodie, I think. I found her in 2010. Wow, which is like now 12 years ago, which is unreal. So I was a ballerina. I started doing ballet at age 4. I did it through age 16. I was on the dance team in high school. I was a cheerleader. I was a cheerleader in college. I was the one they put on the pyramids. So I've always grown up with a background in dance. And I somehow got away from that in my fitness life, just, started running because it was easy in college, and just continued that. And I ran a half marathon in 2010, finished the half marathon, and should have felt proud of myself because I had just run 13.1 miles. But I felt really bloated and inflamed and just run down. And I didn't feel that joy that I thought I would feel after doing such a big accomplishment. And I realized that what I was doing, which was basically running and powerlifting, was really inflaming my body everywhere. I was probably 20 pounds heavier, maybe 30 than I am now. And not only appearances, but I just had pain. I had pain in my hips. I had pain every time I would run. All bursitis everywhere. Every bursa was inflamed. And I just was like, I can't do this anymore. So I realized that like my passion for exercise, I love to work out. I don't lack motivation there. That's just something I've always loved to do. And I Googled dancer inspired workouts and Tracy Anderson popped up. And I had sort of known about her. This was around the time when she trained Madonna and Gwyneth Paltrow. And Gwyneth Paltrow had that amazing body in the movie now that I can't recall the name of off the top of my head. Somebody in the Tamily will know. And I was like, wow, she looks great. And she looks healthy and happy. And I'm going to do this. So I got the Matt DVD and I got the Dance Cardio, her first original DVDs. Learned both of them, learned all the dance cardio routines and would do them in this small condo space that I had. So I started out there, moved to Phoenix, then subsequently in 2012, which was about a year after I started with her, liked the results, but really got more into Pure Barre and yoga and some other things because I'd never been in a boutique fitness state before. Where I lived was a small town, so we didn't have all these like boutique fitnesses. And so I wanted to get into that. So I kind of drifted away and then came back and did the Perfect Design series all the way through. And I saw results just doing barre and Perfect Design series, honestly, and yoga, really with leaning me out and decreasing inflammation. But I wanted more. And when I made a job change in 2016, I was looking for an online virtual platform. And so I came back to my old friend, Tracy Anderson, and I remembered that there was a time frame when I really saw great results with the Dance Cardio DVD plus the mat work that I'd never seen in my hips and butt. I never had abs, never until I did Tracy Anderson method. I know that's like ridiculous how she gives you abs. I don't even know what she does, but she's ridiculous. So she's a genius for women's bodies, I think, in my humble opinion, but I digress. Anyways, so then I started online streaming and I haven't looked back. And people ask me, you know, in DMs and stuff, if I do any other mode of fitness, and I absolutely do not. I don't do anything else. I'm a huge purist. I do walk a lot. I have I have a toddler, well, preschooler, and then an 8-month-old who now just started crawling yesterday. And I know, big milestone. And I walk at my job probably no fewer than 10 to 15,000 steps. Okay. So that's the only, if you want to say like the other form of exercise that I do outside of Tracy Anderson method, that's really the only other thing that I do. So
as for your routine with the method, how do you incorporate dance cardio and mat work?
Yeah, so this is a question because, you know, when Kristen did the pre-interview, she was like, you never show any of your dance cardio. And the reason is because I haven't learned this is a confession, I have not learned any new dances since the Dance Cardio DVD. Maybe like a couple of them when I first started streaming, I taught myself some of the maybe circa 2016, 2017 dances. But my bandwidth in life is that I need to work out and I need to get it in 60 to 70 minutes max. And so I don't have the time to commit to learning the new dances. So that's why I don't show it. But I do dance cardio on one day a week. Okay. And I reserve it for a day that I just do it. 45 minutes usually, intermediate dance cardio. Okay. And then either I'll tack on an arm toner or an elective content. Sometimes if the master class is short and the babies are still asleep because I watch them on camera, dual cameras, while I work out. And if they wake up, they come into the garage with me, which is a blast. And actually, I'm not being sarcastic. It's actually kind of fun to have them in there with me. So if they're still asleep, then sometimes I will tack on a 15-minute endurance boost, or I'll jump onto like a live intermediate dance cardio. Okay. But that's why I don't post it, because I have not literally learned to dance in, I don't know, 5 years, maybe 4 years. So I can dance. I just prefer not to show, because I would work, well, when my kids get older and they're in school, maybe then I'll try to start learning some of the dances again, and I can actually, you know, join in some of the fun, because I think the dance cardio is really fun. I also think that the dance cardio gives results really well, but it can also make you really hungry. Right. So it's kind of a balance, and I've toyed with doing it before mat work or in place of the opening ceremony or after. And depending on what goal or results or what time of year, I will kind of flip flop what time I do the dance cardio if I add it on that day, but I don't do it every day.
Okay. So basically once a week is your regular routine, and then the rest of the week you usually do advanced or intermediate as far as mat work?
Do I look dark again to you? Or am I projecting okay? Because on my screen I look really dark.
No, you're projecting
okay. Cool. So my current like routine is that I do advanced 4 to 5 times a week. So I work out 7 days a week, but no longer than 65 to 70 minutes. 70 minutes is like, I really took it to the extreme. I don't work out that long. And so I either do advanced 4 to 5 times a week, intermediate 1 to 2 times, and then my dance cardio day. If I love advanced, then the intermediate day, I might do the back-to-back multitasks. So I might do the advanced multitask and then the intermediate back-to-back.
Okay.
I feel like doing the intermediate at least once or twice a week has really honed in on the results for me. I think it is very targeted and it forces me to slow down, and that helps with, I tend to get inflamed, and a lot of ladies have talked about this with over exercise. My body just tends to not really respond well to that. So I found that on the days that I want to do something a little bit lighter, I will do intermediate, or I'll do like the beginner multitask and maybe tack on a dance cardio that day, depending on how I feel. So that's my routine. Yeah,
it's good to know, especially, being able to see some of your results, pictures, and things I'm sure we'll talk about before, after, and during pregnancy as well. But to know that it's not every single day and that you're not working out, 90 minutes, 2 hours every day. It's, you just have a very solid, consistent routine with advanced or intermediate, and then peppering in that cardio. Excellent.
Yeah, I think that's really important, like for new people to fitness, and new people to, finding what works best for you and your body, and kind of listening to that, and knowing when too much of it, and Tracy talks about this a lot, when too much is too much, right? And that's a hard tipping point to know when you've really crossed over into, going to be too much in your body. You're actually going to not see the same return on investment that you would.
Right.
If you scaled it back a little bit. So that was really hard for me to come to that, conclusion. I mean, and so I think that's hard for everybody when they're starting a new fitness method, or when they're trying to figure out, what works best for their own body.
Yeah. I mean, you want to have that balance between certainly like pushing and challenging yourself and, progressing, versus just going over the line a little bit of, really overdoing it or draining yourself.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little more specifics about the results that you've seen, maybe like in the beginning when you got more exclusive with Tracy, and then also with like post-pregnancies?
Yeah. So when I was thinking about this question, the results obviously are more than physical. The emotional clarity that this method gives me every day is how I can be a good mom and a good wife and a good partner to my husband, to my family, and also, be able to feel good inside my own skin. And it honestly bleeds into me being a good doctor and a good physician, a good friend. Because you really, when you hit that mat, you're really encountering things that are hard, things that I didn't think physically I would maybe not be able to do, even coming from a dancer background, things at 40 that I didn't think I would be able to continue to do, things I could do in my teens, that I didn't think I would be able to do. And so I think the results obviously they're more than physical. I mean, we come clearly for the physical results. I think initially a lot of people do come for the physical results. And then as you peel back all the layers of the method and the different facets of it, there's a lot more to it than just, what you get physically. Physical results. So, some of my before and after pictures, my hips and butt, I mean, I haven't had a butt like this in my whole life, and I'm post 2 kids and 40. So that is a really cool thing I was not expecting. And the other result I think that was most surprising to me is the abs. So as you guys have seen, and I started streaming, there was one question in the interview. My first post was April 19th, 2017. Obviously I've been doing the method for almost a year before that streaming. But I never had abs ever. Never. Like that was the hardest part of my body to tone. And then even after 2 children, for some reason, the design was still under there, even after doing the method through both my pregnancies, which was amazing to me, especially with this pregnancy. Like my first pregnancy was in 2017 into 2018, and I hadn't been doing the method, as long. But with this pregnancy, I literally grew a bump and came back down.
Oh my God.
And I I put all my clothes on like 2 weeks later after having the baby in August. And I was like, this is so bizarre. Like, how did this happen? And so it was kind of a crazy byproduct. So we're just talking about results, the design is under there. And obviously I've drank Tracy's Kool-Aid, she and I've never met, but she served it to me somehow. And so I really drank her Kool-Aid, but I so believe in her design aesthetic. I don't know what she is a genius. I don't know how she comes up with this stuff, but like, to go through a whole 9 months of growing a human and then, just kind of come back to the same place that you were before and the design remained underneath is amazing to me. So those are kind of what I would say in terms of results for me.
Absolutely. I have to say, I didn't realize it was like even that quick after your pregnancy, but just the before and after of like, definitely a big pregnant belly and like, oh my gosh, like that before and after pregnancy picture that you shared on Instagram is unbelievable. Like, and that it's so funny because it reminds me of something that Tracy said once about someone who was pregnant. She was like, I really want to get in shape, during my pregnancy, like join your method. And Tracy said, like, I wish that you would have joined it before that. Cause like, we can give you a foundation that carries you through, not that she can't like help during that time. And then of course after, but you're totally right. It's like, you have that designed underneath, and it's amazing that you could, lose weight and have the skin and the muscle and all of that return so quickly.
Yeah, it was a blessing, a secondary blessing that I wasn't really expecting after, after each pregnancy. And I really think that with each pregnancy, I was very, very careful about not doing anything to put a lot of pressure on my abs, even though I was doing advanced, I was modifying a lot of the plank moves. And I think that really helped prevent diastasis recti. For any new Tamily who are on the call or who watch this later, who haven't been pregnant yet or desire pregnancy, that is definitely one of the things. And Tracy talked in one of her, it's an older talk, but she answered that question. And then she went on to answer a question because the lady also asked, I'm a streamer and what I don't want to do the pregnancy project. Or she was paying for streaming, so she wasn't sure that if the pregnancy project would have been a good fit for her. I don't know if this was the same talk or not, but Tracy did mention, that intermediate was completely safe for a pregnant woman to do. And we just watched Hey Lorraine do her entire pregnancy, right? She must be on maternity leave now because I haven't seen her on the schedule, but in the heat and humidity. And that was another thing that I did not do pregnant.
Okay.
Other than it's 120 in Phoenix, and even in the morning, and when I was working out in the summertime, still 90. So, okay, so I guess I take that back a little bit, but I don't add heat and humidity. I did not when I was pregnant. I didn't feel like that was a safe thing. Okay. The other thing I did not do pregnant was high impact cardio. I did not feel like that was a safe thing for me, and that was something Tracy talked about, that she felt the same way when she was pregnant with Penny. She didn't feel like high impact dance cardio was her, what she should do. And that's kind of how I felt. So I did some low impact, but pretty much no dance cardio when I was pregnant.
Did you try any of the pregnancy project or the post-pregnancy DVDs?
No, I didn't do them. Not that I don't think that they were great. I just saw Melissa Lloyd Tam, who lovely human who I've never met, but just connected on Instagram, who just had her baby in December, did the post-pregnancy, was able to heal a lot of her diastasis recti with the post-pregnancy. So I think that was a great choice for her. For me, I didn't have any DR and I didn't feel like I needed to, so I didn't. I do see one comment that Dr. Jill is asking me what kind of doctor I am. I'm an internal doctor, hospitalist.
And so I think you said you were finishing your residency when you moved to Phoenix. So have you been in that profession now for like, what, a decade, I guess?
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. That's another thing I love about learning from these, interviews. It's just, the Tamily is a super amazing group of people. So you did mention that you haven't met Tracy before. I imagine that's a goal. But have you ever been to a studio?
No. And so I've never been to a Vitality Week, never been to a studio, never met Tracy. She doesn't follow me on Instagram. I found you guys. I stalked you and I found you. Thank God. Yeah, so I'm kind of like my own self-made person. I just kind of studied her and I tried to become good and mimic her movements. And the studio, so I had the class booked, and so I'm close to the not close to the LA studio, but like 5 hours. Okay. So I had the class booked and ready to go. And it was 2017, and we were going out there for a wedding. And 2 weeks before that, I found out I was pregnant with my first daughter. And I was sicker than a dog.
Oh.
And it was hot. And I wasn't sure if I wasn't sure if heat and humidity would have been safe for the baby. It's my first pregnancy. I didn't know what to do. So I didn't end up going. And I lost out, which was really sad. But that was my only opportunity thus far to even. And then when I felt like I was good enough at the method, she stopped the Vitality Weeks because of COVID.
Yeah.
So that was really like when I'd hit the point in like 2019, 2020, when I was like, yeah, I probably could hang. I think I could do a Vitality Week, because before that, I didn't think I was well versed enough. I didn't think I was ready and physically. And so I just didn't do it. And then now, we haven't had one in years. So unfortunately.
Well, you'll have to definitely come to a Tamily meetup or something.
I know.
For sure. So hopefully there'll be lots of those being planned in the near future. I'm definitely missing the Tamily.
I know. I hope so too. There's a couple of Tamily that live in Phoenix as well. You guys probably all know Alicia. I think awt.tamily is her handle. And so she lives probably about 20 minutes from me. But we tried to plan a meetup, but again, COVID and just me and just being nervous about COVID and spread and being in the hospital and everything, we just, never met up. But maybe now that things are calming down a little bit.
Yeah, hopefully. That's got to be a huge benefit of us moving out of some of the restrictions of the pandemic. So I know one thing that you mentioned is sometimes you do multitask. Do you do any of the other elective classes, and kind of what do you think about those?
So I love them. And before I joined the lives, that took me a couple months to decide if it would fit with my schedule and everything. I'm a really big fan of rotating the OC, the opening ceremony. I guess that's something I didn't mention when I talked about my prescription. But one thing that, my family and everybody who knows me well, I am an Energizer bunny. My husband calls me a robot. I get up at 5 a.m. every day. And I go until, 9 p.m. when I fall down and go to sleep like a little kid. So I need a high energy OC. My legs, they need to be warmed up before I go into the mat work, or else I have a hard time connecting with the mat work. And it's not the moves, it's really just me not being warmed up enough.
Okay.
So I use the arm toners when I'm trying to mix up the OC a little bit. Sometimes I'll replace it with an arm toner, and that makes the whole class feel fresh. Or now that the lives are here, which is like one of the best things that's ever happened, I think, to online streaming in multiple different platforms, not just Tracy Anderson uses live, coaching and things. But I sometimes will just tack on the OC, or I'll do the OC with real music, which is really motivating. Even if the class is intermediate, sometimes I'll just do the opening ceremony and then click on to the mat work from advanced if I want to do that. So I'm a big fan. So that's where I use the elective content. Sometimes if I'm feeling real frisky, I'll replace the OC with an endurance boost.
Okay.
So that's if I really need, like, usually I do that when I'm really tired, honestly, not frisky, just tired, because I want to wake up. And so Kristen Nicole Elliott, her endurance boosts, I connect with them really well, and so I usually sneak around and try to find when she's going to do one, because I follow her really well when she does cardio, when she does her endurance boosts. I don't know why. I think everybody has a trainer that they can follow better than other trainers. Not that they're all not amazing, but just that you connect with. And Nicole Saul is another one that, for me, I feel like we're structured very similarly. Like, we both are pretty tall and just kind of muscularly framed. And the way she moves, I can really follow her. I can track her really well. So she's another person that if she's doing the arm toner for the week, I'll definitely do it.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And I mean, all the trainers really are amazing. But especially because, if they spoke to us, like, you might connect with someone just from like their personality, but it's funny that comes through in the opening ceremony, especially in dance cardio. But yeah, that's what is so cool about this, especially too now with the lives and with so many different trainers doing them, that you can really find someone that you have a connection with. So we do have some questions in the chat, and also through this question mark icon in Instagram that I'll have to figure out. But one question from SJB Tam is, how much sleep do you need, and how early do you work out during the week?
Oh my gosh, this is a great question. So I confess that with my newborn baby, who now is finally sleeping mostly through the night, hallelujah, I was getting about 4 hours of sleep a night for a long time. And that was not easy, but I am so motivated. If I don't work out at 5 a.m., my day is really off. So I was doing that no matter what. The sweet spot for me is about 7 hours of sleep, and that's kind of where I'm sitting now. So yeah, I'm not somebody who stays up until midnight. I never have been. In fact, that's like the most opposite. Me and my husband, he's an evening person and I'm a morning person. So we are almost complete opposites in that regard. Like, he'll sleep until 9, but he goes to bed at midnight, and I go to bed at 9 and I get up at 5. So we're just like a little yin and yang on that. And always have been, even when we were dating, and even when I didn't have kids, I went to bed at like 10 or 9:30. I'm just not a late night person. But ask me to get up at 4:30 and I can certainly do it. So I work out at probably between 5:15 and 6:15 ish. Give or take 5 to 10 minutes. But that's usually my workout time, and it's typically done that way because I want to have it done before the girls wake up. And because I don't want to take any time away from them. So I'm trying to find a time where I can do it, where it's me and it's my time to rejuvenate myself, but also so that way during the day I can be fully present for them when I'm off work.
Excellent. We have another question from the chat, which is from Megan, and she wants to know who your favorite trainer is. I know you mentioned Nicole. Do you have a top favorite?
It's Nicole, probably. Okay. It's hard for me to decide between her and Kristen and Maria D. Maria D. She did like the first breakdown ever of the 2014 classic class that was stayed up in the archives in the old class. And I feel like she is just, her genuine personality comes through the screen very well. In terms of like a newer trainer, I would say Nicole Saul is probably my favorite. I hate to pick a favorite, but she's probably my favorite.
Yeah, she is great too. We have a couple other questions from Megan as well. She wanted to know, have you seen more results with intermediate or advanced?
So I've seen more results by combining the two. I predominantly do advanced, and the reason for that is not, I don't know if the results would be better or worse with either one, because I think both programs are strong. But that I really enjoy that adrenaline rush. So I like the physicality of the advanced classes. I will say, though, that if there is, there are some tips, and this was another question, that tips that I have gleaned from trainers or listening to Tracy talk. And one thing that I find that I had to work on a lot, I probably moved myself into the advanced lane a little too early if I look at older videos, as I was cutting short every extension. So the reason to film is to always improve upon your performance, because a lot of the method is performance, and that's how you see the results. So I don't think it necessarily matters what lane you are in, as long as you're performing in that lane appropriately. And so what I noticed is that I would cut a lot of the extensions. Tracy always says extend all the way, pretend like Courtney says this too, pretend like your fingers don't end, that you're extending, and you learn that in dance, they're extending all the way through, you're pointing your toes, and the energy goes out the end of your fingertips or out the end of your toe or your foot in the extensions. And so I was realizing that I was not doing that. And when I started actually doing that and listening to, watching a lot of the trainers show what they meant by that, particularly in the opening ceremony with the arms, it's really important. I saw really great results, and that you can do in intermediate or advanced. I mean, you're really, that is something that, and then the other thing is controlling the down.
Okay.
So that was something that I didn't understand what that meant, but it basically means coming down off of a move, like out of a one-legged down dog, and a lot of the trainers talk about this, is it is harder to control going down than it is to power up. And so when you're controlling the down, it engages a lot more of your muscles. So that was in Tracy's talk too. And I think that was actually more of in a recent talk that she had given about the method and just, ways to improve and enhance your own design. So I felt like that was something that I learned a lot from her and from the trainers just by going through. But I think, there are plenty of Tamily out there that I can think of that do predominantly intermediate who have, fantastic figures and have seen fantastic results just from doing intermediate with some cardio tacked on.
Absolutely. One last question from Megan, especially because I think you were describing before you would run and lift weights. When you first were doing the method, did you feel like you're missing something of not lifting the weights, or did you continue doing that for any time frame?
No, I stopped lifting weights completely. My body was just so sore. Like sometimes you lift really heavy weights, and I know a lot of the Tamily have done powerlifting and stuff. Like sometimes I couldn't even walk up a flight of stairs or down a flight of stairs. My legs were so sore, and I was like, this is not what I want to be doing with exercise. So that I stopped completely. The running was harder to quit. A lot of people know, and the people who still run in TAM know that the runner's high is real. And so, but what I finally had to tell myself, and with running, and sometimes I'll still run I haven't run in like probably 8 months, but I probably will still run every once in a while to explore a new city, because that's kind of fun. So, and it's fun that I'm in such good shape from doing DC that I can just pick up my shoes and run, which I love about the method. But with running, I had to really focus on the fact that it wasn't really giving me, other than like maybe some personal joy actually doing it sometimes. It was just more pressure that felt like I should be running. I don't know why. Why do we put that pressure on ourselves? Like I should be running. Like in addition to this huge amount of exercise I just did, that I also should be running. I don't understand why we put that pressure on ourselves as women. I didn't run 5 miles today, so I guess I'm not worth what? I don't know. So it's sad that we think like that as females, especially in this culture. But I just basically weaned it down and quit. It wasn't doing me any favors, and now I don't miss it at all.
Excellent. That's wonderful. I mean, of course, sometimes people do want to mix it in, especially the running. I mean, I've never experienced that myself, but I know it's definitely something that's real. And I mean, I think Tracy even says too, you know, there's a ton of kind of cardio that you can do. If there's something that you love, you know, you should do it because you love it. Like,
Right.
it doesn't just have to like feel like work, you know. So I did want to ask you as well, how did you discover the Tamily? You know, it sounds like you were doing the DVD and stuff for a long time before, you know, Instagram was even invented.
Yeah, right. We all remember that. I had like the Zach Morris cell phone in my car, my first car phone, you know, like the bat phone, huge, and you pulled the antenna up, and you're like, "Hey, how's it going?" And it only had a connection like certain times, and
Yeah.
you're. I remember the first time I got a text message. It was about, "Can you bring me some tacos?" And it was from one of my friends in like 2012 or 2011 on my old Nokia phone. That was
I
black
got
and
that
white.
phone
And I was
too.
working as a waitress in this Mexican restaurant, and I got this buzz, and I didn't even know what it was. And she was like, "Can you bring me 3 tacos?" I was like, "Who is this?" So yeah, so prior to Instagram, how did we connect? I don't know. Okay, so I wrote this down because I don't want to butcher these people's Instagram handles.
Okay.
But when I found, you know, I had an Instagram account, and I found the Tamily just through Tracy Anderson's page, but there were some people that followed her that I subsequently started following. And so that would be Loretta Fitness Life, who I think everybody just, you know, I mean, look at her. Come on. I don't even know what to say other than she's probably one of the queen inspirations of the Tamily.
Totally.
So really not much else to say there. But there are a couple ladies who actually have subsequently rotated out of the Tamily who I followed initially. So I think Tiffany Ann, she still does Tamily. She runs the Facebook group, but she doesn't post as much. So her and Loretta were the two that I followed initially. But if you guys remember, Mama and Tata, I think her first name might be Candace.
Yes.
She is she owns her own company and something like that, and she used to post her dance cardio all the time with Tracy. And so I kind of learned some dances from her actually a little bit way back in the day. And then Go Glow, you guys might remember too, and she was a huge Tracy Anderson and has subsequently gone on to, you know, have her own fitness method, which is, you know, great for her. And so those four, I think, were the initial four people that I found. And then finding this, you know, hashtag Tamily, and then finding Mountie Fit, who that's her, I can't remember her first name, but gosh, she's hilarious. So I read her post and laugh my butt off and just enjoy my time. And those ladies, along with Erica Boom, who I found, you know, through the other ladies, those were probably the original 5 that I followed, and then it grew from there really organically, I think.
Yeah, those are definitely like the Tamily people. Like, I mean, I think I wish I could remember, but I'm certain Loretta was one of the very first ones that I saw. And what would stand out for me is like, you know, you might not get a move when you were actually doing it in the workout with Tracy, but then I would see Loretta do it and just be like, oh, that's how to do that. It just doesn't, I don't know why that would happen. It's like,
don't know.
oh, not as hard as it seems. Like, you just turn this way and do this with your arm. Like, I think it's like just see, and that's kind of why it's so great to see so many of the different trainers. Like, something can just click just because you see a different person actually doing it.
I totally agree with that. It's funny, like there are a couple of the ladies now that I go to if I can't, like I see the move and I'm like, what? I don't think whatever I did, which was like a flapping bird in the wind, like did not look right. So I, you know, who moves beautifully is Anna Moving. I don't know if she's on this, but I can glean a lot from her watching her. And Kim Tamily, she moves very controlled, and so she makes it very clear, especially because she does a lot of intermediate, and I think that's really important. Her form is like impeccable. And then you guys know the Zeitgeist, the ballerina Jessica. If I ever want to see one of the balancing moves or a move that I'm not entirely sure on, her form is always on point. So those are kind of more current, not current, but, you know, like ladies that have joined the Tamily later, who I really, you know, can glean a move from.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a question from Maria, and she wants to know if you eat breakfast before working out or after.
After. So
Okay.
I think not really on purpose. I intermittently fast, but um, I didn't really I don't call it that. I mean, it became popular, but I've been doing it for a really long time. So I don't eat anything. And this is just not even because I don't, it's just, or I don't want to, just the way my life works is, I really don't eat anything after 6:30 p.m. And I don't eat until 8:30 in the morning, usually between 8 and 8:30. And it's just because by 6:30, then I'm going to baths, and then I put the first girl down, I put the second girl down, and by that time it's 9:30, and then I put myself down. And I get up in the morning, and I have to work out fasted. I can't work out with food in my stomach. In fact, I tried to do Tracy's live at 10 a.m. the other day, and I just crumbled. It was weird. I had eaten breakfast, and I just couldn't do it. I felt so gigantic, and like I felt like my whole body was just not into it at all, which was sad because it was a great class. So yes, and then I typically eat breakfast depending on if I'm at work that day, or it really is around 8. So usually I fast for about between 12 and 14 hours, depending on the day. And that's not, I don't want to convince anybody else to do that. I think you have to do what's right for your body. That was just born out of necessity, honestly. It wasn't really it's not something I strictly adhere to, but I would say 95% of the time I do that. And then, you know, there may be the occasional night when, you know, me and my husband go out or whatever, but we don't go out that much because our schedules are intense and we have 2 kids.
Yeah, and you're a doctor and you work out every day.
Yeah.
You really are an Energizer bunny, though, honestly, Crystal. It's like you're achieving so much in a day. I'm like, yeah, I think I can learn to get up early and get my workout in.
Yeah.
So I do have a few more planned questions. Of course, if anybody else has questions, you can type them into the chat as we're getting close to our last few minutes of the interview. I do want to ask if you can tell us how the community support from the Tamily adds to what you think is the effectiveness of this workout method for you personally.
Yeah, so I think it, you know, because we can't really get to see each other in person, you know, you really are. I used to really like group fitness classes because I'd enjoyed working out with other people. And then over time, I think, you know, out of necessity again, like I, you know, have to work out by myself in my garage. But because of that, I think without the Tamily, my motivation to work out would be a lot less. So, you know, and this is, I think, kind of foreign to people that don't film themselves working out, don't have a community like we do. That shares our workouts. And really, it's so that we can feel like we're all working out together, right? In a group fitness class. That's the whole point, right? Is that we can share that we are working out together and learn from each other as we grow in this method. And I think, you know, that was one of the biggest things that I think for those people that, you know, don't post or don't film, I don't think you necessarily have to post yourself working out if you're self-conscious about that, but you shouldn't be, because we're all here to support each other. And I've never seen a community of females where there's absolutely no mean girls. It's so crazy to me, but it's fantastic. And we're all here to support each other on our journeys, whatever that may look like for each person. But I think, trying to think of where I was going with this. Remind me of the question. This happens sometimes postpartum. I with ladies who understand this, like sometimes every once in a while, my brain just completely goes.
You were totally on the right track.
I was answering the question, but
support, like, add to the effect of the workout.
Yes. So we were talking about, you know, not filming yourself versus not, but I think it is one of the ways to just, I don't think I would be as motivated to do my workouts every day if I didn't know that I was going to see, you know, Jesus, Goldie, and her smiling face, you know, posting her standing sequence, or if I didn't see Lindsay Goldeneye and Tam in her sweatsuit, which was amazing, by the way. Oh my gosh, that I think I need to buy. Or if I didn't see Duchess Montaigne just like killing it because she's got multiple children and she's just,
Yeah,
how does she do her day? She's somebody we can all learn from because she has
for sure.
learned how to multitask like no one's business. So if I didn't see these people and Angie Tam Kazam and all her cool little like onesies and outfits and her kids are in and out and she's in her kitchen and like it's just nothing's like this in the entire like that I've ever found. And so I'm so grateful that I found you guys and I get to be part of the family and then be with people that understand me. But I don't think I would be as motivated without all of you. And trust me, I appreciate all of you for all your individual, you know, idiosyncrasies and special traits, because it just makes life just so much more fun that way. I know KNO12, I didn't want to butcher her name because she had a different Instagram handle, but she can't really comment. She's helping me do some background stuff, but Karen is one of the, you know, shining stars. And when she couldn't go in the studio, she videoed from her small apartment. And then now that she's back in the studio, she just does, you know, studio selfies, which are super cool. So yeah, I don't think every day I would be as motivated without all of you.
Absolutely.
Now the
You
pies come.
such good points about this community. I mean, I've never, like, I don't think, to your point, there is any other community like this. I mean, especially for an online community, which is usually just a space for people to be negative and critical. Like, you know, no one is ever like, oh, you're doing that totally wrong or you look horrible. And that happens in all other internet communities. So
or look at that, like, look at her, like, whatever XYZ body part, because right, females are just about their body parts, right? Of course.
truly,
I say sarcastically, right? But yeah, I mean, it's the Instagram trolls, and I'm sure everybody who has an online account. I saw that Renee Munn just joined. Oh my gosh, your baby, and he or she, now I can't recall because I watched so many videos, but it's always in your videos, and I love it. I'm gonna show one this week. My baby was in the video from yesterday that I took. I just haven't had a chance to post it, but oh my gosh, she'll be in. You guys will see her. But yeah, I don't understand. The internet is just, it's a weird space.
it is.
Our kids are all gonna have to grow up with it, and it's a weird space.
They should grow up with the Tamily though, because I got the formula right for this community for sure.
Yeah, agreed.
Let me actually, I think there was a question in the chat. Oh, that was just a comment that you're a major motivator, Crystal.
Yes, thanks, El Boogie. I saw that one, Tam. You too. I just think everybody is so motivating, and that's why we do this, right? It's to motivate each other, you know?
Yeah, and I know you've been able to, like, obviously you prepped for your interview very well, and you've called out so many people that it's just like, from all the different types of backgrounds and lives and, you know, different things that we're all doing, but it really is just so inspiring.
Karen asked me if I was drinking, and no, that's lemon water.
You can drink during an Ask Tamily interview.
I could. It is only 10:30 here, or 10:45, and I guess I've been asked this a lot too, just to digress the question, but I have not had a drop of alcohol in over 5 years because I've either been pregnant or breastfeeding continuously or trying to get pregnant. Like literally since 2017 till the current day, I have either been gestating a child, having a child, feeding a child from my breasts, trying to have another child, pregnant with another child, feeding another child from my breasts. Women are amazing.
Totally.
All I have to say about that. Like, how do women are just, I mean, I love my husband, I don't get me wrong, but the women are just, I mean, we feed babies ourselves. We grow them. I mean, it's just crazy. The human body is crazy.
And us, I mean, watching the transformation through those kind of journeys is totally so let me ask you, what would be some advice that you might have to someone who's not new to the method, but they're not currently feeling motivated?
Oh yeah, so I definitely, let me see, I wrote some stuff. So I did this during my daughter's gymnastics class yesterday. So I definitely wrote some things down. Oh, so my best advice is, which is something that I did, which is to just switch it up. So if I'm not feeling motivated that day, like I was talking about, that day I might go to intermediate, or I might swap the opening ceremony for an arm toner, or just swap the opening ceremonies of intermediate and advanced and then switch the leg work, or do dance cardio for my opening ceremony, or do an endurance boost. I think that's really, really helpful to stay, you know, kind of refresh. The lives have been a really big refresher for me. I feel like, you know, if it's not cost prohibitive and you feel like you're going to use it enough, because you know, the Tamily, and obviously we've done the Tamily cares and we all support each other, but it's not cheap. And so to add an extra $30 a month sometimes, you know, is a lot for people. Yeah. And I think, you know, that has actually been a great motivator for me. Sometimes I will get up at 4:30 in the morning now that with our time change in Phoenix. Before that class was at 5:30, that first advanced. Now it's at 4. And that if it's a trainer that I really like, sometimes it will motivate me even to get up and do the class with them. So I think that's a great way to switch it up. Yeah. And then watching everybody else, you know, you get FOMO when you've been doing it a long time. Like, you know, you are like, oh, that looks like a great class. Or even if it's not something that's maybe in the master class lane, I think, you know, even just getting on the mat, once you get there, I think most people will say the hardest thing is stepping onto the mat. Once you get going, then you don't want to stop.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. Like if you just convince yourself to do arms, or especially because you could do different arms every day if you want, like, right. You know, and then to your point, you can get the legs in for whichever class that you're doing, but sometimes it can just really, I don't know, I'm like motivated by what music it is or Tracy's outfit. Like, you know, I'm like, I gotta do the one with her wearing that
Tracy's butt.
Right.
Every time.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, girl, you're 47.
Right.
Crystal, it's time to lift the booty. Like, she's 47, she's had 2 kids, you can do this. I know she's a fitness star, but this is what I think to myself. You can do this.
Exactly. So I do want to ask as well, and especially hopefully a lot of people will be back to traveling very soon, especially with restrictions changing. Do you have any tips for doing TAM while traveling?
Yeah, so actually TAM everywhere I go. My favorite place that thus far that I've tammed has been on a balcony in Hawaii because the natural heat and humidity cannot be beat. That was an incredible, besides sliding one time when I was trying to do DC out there because it was that sweaty, but that was probably my favorite place to do DC and to do that. But one really big tip, those of you who have not traveled with ankle weights, take them out of your carry-on when you go through security, or else you will get pulled and then they think they're a weapon and then they do all the testing on them and it delays everything. So either put them in your if you can part with them, put them in your, if you're going to check a bag, put them in your check bag so that you'll not encounter this issue. Otherwise, take them out. That's all I usually bring, and then I wrap them around my hands, or I hold them as arm weights when we do the
okay. Yeah.
So that's all I bring. And typically, if you know, I don't have room for a mat, so I usually use towels or whatever. I used to travel more for my work before to Minnesota before the embargo on travel with our, you know, my hospital system too. So I used to travel up there a lot, and so I would bring my ankle weights and just go on a hotel floor and with a towel. That's the great thing about this method is that you can take it anywhere. You have a Wi-Fi connection, and now she's made it easier that if you can download before, you also have some classes if your internet connection isn't so great either. So yes, ankle weights out, run them through security on their own, or put them in your check bag. I learned that one multiple times.
So I think we know the answer to this, but I wanted to ask you about heat and humidity as well. You do additional heat and humidity usually at home?
Not humidity, just heat.
Okay.
My garage is very large. You're only really seeing like a quarter of it. It's a 3-car garage. So, and the video quality is always so spectacular. I really don't look like that. I have to like always like look at my videos, either lighten them or darken them, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I look like a ghost. Like it's that overhead fluorescent lighting, which is always so flattering on every human. But it's huge, and it would not, the humidity, I don't know what I would do. Now, I live in a desert, so I do add heat on top of the heat. It gets real hot in there, especially in the summer. I mean, we're talking 100 degrees, maybe 95. It's hot. So I feel like with that, I don't really need the humidity. But I do notice a difference if I do work out. Like Phoenix, everybody thinks it's a desert. It doesn't ever rain, and that's not actually true. There are different seasons where it will be very humid. So like July is our monsoon season. So I do notice when there's natural humidity that I am more limber and I sweat more. But I haven't figured out a way to make a humidifier. So if anybody has any tips, like effective in a big garage like that. The heater I can put right next to me and it'll heat me up. And even if it doesn't heat the entire space, it just heats me. And then the space it's Phoenix. So the space is hot almost all the time, no matter what. It's at least like, 80 degrees in there most of the time. So with the heater, it'll get up higher. But yeah.
One of the things, instead of using a humidifier that a lot of people use, which I use to the clothes steamer without the pole on it, so it's just the steamer and the steam comes right out. It's kind of concentrated.
Oh,
so you might want to try that.
They said you can use a paint stripper or like an industrial kettle.
I
Cool.
want to try that.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. Goodness, we've done 187 interviews. I've never heard a paint stripper suggestion. I don't even really know what that is, but I'm definitely going to Google it.
My husband's currently at Home Depot. Maybe I'll text him and tell him to bring one home.
That's a great idea. So Crystal, we've already been talking for 57 minutes. You're so much fun, and you're like one of the most prepared interviews we've ever had. So I know we actually have a bunch more planned questions, but are there any that we haven't asked yet that you really want to cover in your interview today?
Let me think. One thing I wanted to mention that I wanted to put a little plug-in is for my mat that I have 3 mats that I use. So just like Heidi Tamily, I got a very bad prepatellar bursitis where my knee was like a balloon through my entire pregnancy. And then when I took 2 weeks off postpartum, just to heal, it went away. And in that time frame, I obtained this mat. It's called a Hemingway mat. So like Hemi, like Hemi, and then weigh, like you weigh yourself. And I got it on Amazon, and it has been a lifesaver. It was not that expensive. It's very mobile, and I can move it. I have a 3x6 square mat from Square Mats underneath that, and then underneath that, I have horse stall mats. So I have 3 layers of cushion underneath my body, and I do not let my knees go anywhere but on that all 3 of those cushions, because I think that that's really important for preventing injury. So that is one thing I wanted to kind of bring up during the interview.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I'm going to Google that mat as soon as we're off of here. I use the square 36 mats too, with a knee pad as well, because I've had the same thing with bursitis. It's like horrible. But yeah, you're right. The cushion is definitely key to surviving that.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions we didn't get to that you'd want to cover?
No, just to say that I really enjoyed this. It was a lot of fun. I'm so happy that we have this community and that we all get to learn from each other. I only wish that I could join more of these live, because because I love to hear about everybody else's stories, and I love to hear about the community. And it's so hard, you know, sometimes with my work schedule. As you guys know, this was supposed to be last weekend, and then as a physician, it's not good to have cut your hand open, so I had to cover for one of my colleagues overnight, which, you know, is not something I normally don't like to work at night. I don't think anybody really does, but you know, this is just life. And I think that's what's great about this group is it's so facile and you know, so welcoming that, you know, moving this and doing this process was so easy. And you made this so easy for me to prepare. And I would suggest anybody to do this because it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and we want to interview everyone that's in the Tamily if that's possible. So we'll do it forever, as long as we have people that want to be interviewed. I know we're at an hour, but if you do have one more second, we had one question from La Tamily, and I think this is a good one to cover. If you have any particular tips for tamming while pregnant.
Oh, this is a great one to cover. A belly band.
Okay.
So I got mine is from AZ Med. It's on, just Google AZ MED, and then belly band on Amazon. It was like $30. And what I would do is, if you guys could see me, maybe I'll stand, but I put it like underneath the belly. So probably like 20 some weeks on, when the belly is really starting to get large. This will prevent you, one, from peeing your pants while you work out, because that is something that happens when you're pregnant, fortunately, and you work out. And it will hold the baby up in a nice snug position, and it actually makes you, and holds the abs together, and it makes you feel far more supported when you're doing it, and it holds your back. So highly recommend using a belly band. I use them for both of my pregnancies. I used the same one, actually, just recycled it and left it in the garage, and then dusted it off when it was time to use it for the second pregnancy. So that's one really big tip. Back out of any move that feels uncomfortable, particularly ones that put pressure on your abs. And then the third thing that people have asked me about pregnancy, because I think I was, you know, unique in the fact that I did just do online streaming my whole pregnancy, is talk to a trainer. Because that is something that I actually did not do. And the only reason I didn't do it is and for better or for worse, I felt like maybe I had been doing the method for, you know, 10 years at that point. Like I felt comfortable just putting my knee down where I felt like it was too much, or, you know, not going into that move too much, or, you know, trying to kind of modify some of the moves. But I think, you know, to really get the full benefit, now, especially since we watched one of the trainers go through pregnancy and be able to do intermediate for pretty much her whole pregnancy. And Tracy's, all her DVDs and stuff, so are targeted towards women and helping them during pregnancy and postpartum. I think that's a really key thing, especially if you're not super familiar with the method and haven't been doing it for a long time.
Absolutely. Well, those are excellent tips. I'm glad we were able to squeeze them in at the end. But Crystal, we might need to interview you again to get to all of the rest of the questions that we have for you. But thank you so much for being interview 187.
Yeah, well, thank you guys. And see if you can get Tracy Anderson. That would make my life. Follow me on Instagram. That would make my day.
We will DM her your interview and your Instagram name and tell her to follow you today. We can be effective.
See if we can be effective. Well, thank you so much. It's been lovely.
Thank you, Crystal.
Bye. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye. Bye, Tamily.